Ava knows what it feels like when time management does not come naturally. She sits down with good intentions, blinks once, and somehow an hour is gone. So this is not about becoming a perfectly organized robot. It is about getting time back in a way that actually works in real life. What changed things for Ava was letting go of the all-or-nothing mindset. She did not need a completely new personality. She needed a few tiny habits that saved pockets of time again and again. 10 minutes here, 20 there. Over a week, that becomes real space for the things that actually matter. Goals, peace, relationships, income, creativity. And that matters more than most people think. Because when someone keeps saying, "I just do not have time," what often gets buried is the life they actually want to build: a side income, better health, more rest, more room to think, more room to breathe. The goal is not to become busy for the sake of it. The goal is to stop leaking time in ways that keep life smaller than it needs to be. Habit 1. Use a timer for almost everything. There is a reason tasks magically expand to fill the whole afternoon. If something is given forever, it will take forever. But if it gets 25 minutes, the brain gets a boundary. And for an ADHD brain, external structure is often far more helpful than willpower. So instead of saying, "This should get done today," Ava gives it a real frame. This gets done from 9 o'clock to 9:25. A phone timer works. A cheap kitchen timer works. Even a stopwatch works. Nothing fancy required. One of Ava's favorite ways to use this is a procrastination power hour. She sets one timer for 60 minutes and uses that hour only for annoying little tasks that have been avoided for way too long. Bills, emails, forms, returns. That one message that has been emotionally avoided for 3 business days. Add music, make a drink, race the clock, and suddenly the things that felt huge become a fast cleanup round instead of a cloud hanging over the whole week. Habit 2. Stop treating every hour like it has the same value. It does not. Some hours are gold, some are glue. The real job is not just managing time, it is managing energy. If Ava's brain is sharp in the morning, that is when the hardest thinking happens. Writing, planning, scripting, problem solving. If her brain turns into soup at 3 p.m., that is not a character flaw, that is data. That becomes the window for easier things like admin, tidying, replying, laundry, or errands. A lot of people waste hours fighting their low-energy window and then feel guilty on top of it. That is a brutal combination. Ava learned to notice her patterns instead. When does focus come fastest? When does resistance show up? Working with energy instead of bullying through the day saves more time than most productivity hacks ever will. And no, that is not laziness. That is strategy. Habit 3. Prepare the environment before the work begins. This sounds simple, but it saves a shocking amount of time because it removes hidden friction. Most people do not only lose time in the task itself, they lose time in the messy runway before the task. Ava sits down to write, then clears dishes, then checks one email, then grabs the phone and somehow ends up deep in something completely unrelated. That is why the setup matters. If the room is chaotic, the desk is cluttered, the notifications are blinking, and 15 tabs are open, attention is already being invited in 5 directions before the work has even started. Then people blame themselves for lacking discipline when honestly, the environment was winning from the beginning. So Ava sets the stage first. If it is work time, the workspace gets ready for work. The desk gets cleared. Water goes nearby. Random tabs get closed. The phone goes face down or across the room. Only the things needed for the task stay open. The goal is to make the first 5 minutes so clean and obvious that the brain has no excuse to wander off. Think like a chef preparing ingredients before cooking. or laying out gym clothes the night before, or packing the school bag before bed instead of doing a chaotic treasure hunt by the door the next morning. This is not being dramatic. This is reducing decision fatigue, and that matters, especially when attention is already being pulled in 10 directions. Habit 4. Pair active tasks with passive ones. This is how Ava gets more out of the day without sacrificing sleep or trying to multitask 2 hard things at once. Some activities need real focus. Others are mostly automatic. When one active task gets combined with one passive task, time gets used better without draining extra energy. For example, Ava walks while taking a phone call. She folds laundry while listening to a podcast. She chops vegetables while catching up with a friend. She tidies a room while listening to an audiobook. She stretches while watching a tutorial. These pairings work because one part uses the body and the other uses attention lightly. But here is the rule. Never combine 2 tasks that both need deep focus. No important emails while listening to something complicated. No business planning while half watching a show. That is not efficiency. That is chaos dressed up as ambition. The real win is learning the difference. Once Ava stopped forcing herself to do everything separately, but also stopped pretending she could focus on everything at once, her days felt lighter. More got done without that exhausted, scattered feeling. And honestly, that matters just as much as productivity. Because saving time is not the goal if the nervous system pays for it every single day. Habit 5. Put it in the calendar or assume it will not happen. A to-do list can be useful for collecting tasks, but it is terrible at telling anyone when real life is supposed to happen. That is why so many lists turn into guilt on paper. Everything looks possible until the clock gets involved. A list says what? A calendar says when. And that difference changes everything. Because when something is only floating around in the mind or sitting on a giant task list, the brain keeps treating it like unfinished business. That mental load gets exhausting fast, but when a task gets a real slot, it stops being a vague burden and becomes a decision. So instead of only writing down what needs to be done, Ava decides when it will be done. She treats tasks like appointments with herself. If something matters, it gets a place. That can be a digital calendar, a paper planner, or a notebook with time blocks. No expensive system required. The power is not in the app. The power is in the decision. This also forces honesty. Suddenly it becomes clear that the quick 5-minute task is actually 25 minutes. Or that 6 major priorities do not fit into one Tuesday unless someone has secretly cloned themselves. And that is useful because once reality becomes visible, things can change. Help can be requested. Tasks can be moved. Similar work can be batched together. Overcommitting becomes harder to ignore. Batching is especially powerful. Calls go together. Errands go together. Content work goes together. Household admin goes together. Every time the brain switches contexts, it pays a tax. So the less jumping around, the more energy stays available, and the faster the day moves. Habit 6. Give everything a home. Physical things, digital things, all of it. Keys, chargers, documents, school papers, receipts, photos, files. If someone is constantly searching for things, they are leaking time in tiny, frustrating amounts all day long. It does not feel dramatic in the moment, but it adds up fast. So Ava makes it easy. One basket for daily essentials, one drawer for cables and batteries, one folder system that actually makes sense. Files get clear names. What is not needed gets deleted. The goal is simple. Important things should be findable in under 30 seconds. Here's the bigger truth. Productive people are not always smarter, more disciplined, or more motivated. Very often, they just have fewer points of friction in their day. That is what these habits do. They make life easier to move through. Ava does not try to master all 6 at once. She picks one, uses it this week, and then stacks another. That is how time opens up, not through pressure, through design. And once time is protected like that, something powerful becomes clear. Not every hour can be controlled, but far fewer of them have to be given away. Before you click away, watch the next video, because one small shift in how you think can lead to much bigger changes in how you live. And if you want more videos that help you work smarter, think clearer, and create more freedom in your life, subscribe to Clever Girl Academy. See you there.